The project started with a simple observation. With 1.8 billion images uploaded online every day, Spotify accounts giving access to 30 million tracks, and 1 million new iBook users per week, in today's digital world we have never had so much choice. Moving from our shelves to an icon on our smart devices, these screens are our new portal to everything in this digital world. With this growing trend, are we losing connection with this content? How are our ideas of value and meaning changing in this digital torrent? I learned through interviews that whilst the convenience of digital is undeniable, it has led to a type of digital hoarding. People's frustrations meant that they no longer accessed their external hard drives full of masses of unwieldy and visible content. In contrast, physical objects are triggers and magnets for stories, representing a journey and association to time and place. Design experiments explored themes through a set of prototypes, investigating how the digital could be physicalized, giving new triggers and interactions. Reflecting on these experiments, the question emerged, why should we look back? Why is raising significant pieces of digital content out from the digital noise we face important? My research into the psychological benefits of the act of reminiscing showed this counters the negative impacts brought by the new information overload culture, such as self-promotion, social comparison, and sense of detachment caused by huge databases of content. Reconstructing methodologies used in psychological research, I asked participants to write a story about a nostalgic memory. The comments received were interesting. Some even wrote several stories even without being asked, one triggering another. This led to a turning point. Instead of superimposing stories to digital through the physical world, why not start with the story as the core element? The digital world can make the story more evocative and meaningful once the memory has been reconnected with. But with the user's digital life a dispersed mess, how can this kind of reflection be done easily? And are these platforms and devices the right place to invest these important moments? This thinking was instilled into a speculative design concept, a set of objects that could be used as tools to prompt a slower, more reflective type of technology, building an off-grid memory bank over time. To validate this route of inquiry, I spoke to experts in the field. Here, Dr. Lloyd from Southampton University describes the value of this type of activity.
Not only does nostalgia fulfill basic psychological needs, such as a sense of social connectedness, meaning in life, self-esteem, but it also makes people more optimistic about the future.
Yeah.
Having people do these things, for some individuals, it might make them a little bit more stuck in the past, but for other individuals, actually, and perhaps a larger portion of individuals, it will just make them, so if their life is a timeline, and they're in the timeline right now, the future being one way, the past being the other way, they start to look at the past, they instead of just being in the timeline looking backwards, they're actually bringing themselves mentally outside of the timeline and looking at their lives. They happen to be looking backwards, but it also gives them the opportunity to see forward.
In conversation with Richard Banks, he describes how Microsoft Cambridge are questioning the current mode of consumption. Through these conversations, two routes became clear. Are these objects a tool for psychological intervention, or do they question the state of technology through a speculative design probe? More interesting to me was combining these themes into a product which fitted reflection into the routine of real users and embedded technology in the everyday. My approach used a cultural probe with users at transition points in life who show the biggest psychological gains from this activity. They lived with the object for a week, completing the reminiscing activity once a day. Here are some of their thoughts.
This is my last comment that I made. It brilliant to be taken back to that very special event after a tough day at work. Perfect finish was how I felt about
That's
it.
Good.
And to begin with, I went, I've had a really demanding day at work. I am very knackered and I don't feel like doing this. And then continued. However, and that's so that it took me to a very, very good place, and that was very nice. And that was a short little exercise. It was only 5 minutes. Took longer to find.
Well, it's your memories. It's what you thought on some things and how it made you feel with it. But yeah, you do get it's in your own little weird way. You do get attached to it. Well, it's your thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do get attached to it.
This probe led to a rich set of insights, helping understand the feelings towards integrating an activity like this in everyday life, and the frustrations with the digital world. These formed a basis for the design rationale and development. Through experimentation with technology, form and material, I developed an object system proposition which embodied this rationale.
But I'm telling you, everything is beautiful here.